Welcome to another episode of As Told by Millennials.
Y'all better come up here and get one of these. That's too damn bad! And it's really very simple. Y'all better come up here and get one of these.
What up? What up?
Welcome back, y'all. What's up? How are you?
Blessed in yourself?
I'm doing great. Chilling on this nice, cool day. It's probably about the coolest day we had in a while.
It is at 100 degrees.
Hey, I ain't say it was the coolest, but I said a cooler day.
Milton.
Hi.
I am dead.
Ah, it's.
I'm so tired. I'm so tired, y'all. But I'm here.
I know that's right.
He's
Listen, we
here.
appreciate the perseverance.
Push through. But yeah, this is episode 2, season 2. What's this, 2-2?
Too.
Yeah.
Did y'all
So
ever think we
welcome.
would get to season 2?
Ooh. Uh, I definitely always thought that we would. The issue was always when.
I never do. I didn't know how many episodes season 1 was gonna be. I was like, let me just take it a day at a time.
hmm
But we're here
Yeah,
somehow, some way.
learned a lot along the way.
Hope everybody's doing good. As you know, our listeners, just let you know that we do appreciate you, and just a reminder that we do have our website up, so go check it out. You can get that link in our Instagram bio or on the Linktree link as well.
Absolutely. Speaking of the listeners, how are you guys doing mentally?
I would say I'm okay. This week I just been in like deep thought about a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that where I say that I have no control over. But just trying to figure out a way to navigate around that throughout life and just keep it moving.
Absolutely. Um, Myself, I just kind of, I'm cool. There's nothing really going on. I'm just kind of anticipating, transitioning back into, having to get up every day and go back to work and, uh, you know, putting together lessons and stuff like that. I'm kind of trying to get back in the mode of that and trying to decide if I'm going to take a break from school this semester or if I'm going to continue to push forward in that. So that's a decision that I need to make over the next couple of weeks.
When you say take a break from school, I have to ask you like what your personal schooling or your job schooling.
My personal schooling. So I'm working on a bridge program. So it's where you get your uh, specialist degree first, and then you decide if you want to push forward through and finish the PhD aspect of it, or whatever it is. I'm not sure if it's PhD or EDD or whatever it is, but um, lots of decisions to be made as far as my personal schooling goes. It's a lot of work, and I don't want my job to be sacrificed because I have so much to do as far as that goes.
would be would be like what that movie said, man, fuck them kids.
Okay. Milton,
Milton.
besides being tired, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Uh, I guess I would take a page from Melvin and Brian at Don't Be Coy and say that my wellness score is like a 4.
Mm,
If you all don't know about Don't Be Coy, it's a really good podcast that they have. You guys should check it out. Um, But I'm just tired, and I had a rough night at work last night, and it wasn't the patients or anything. It was just kind of how some other nurses weren't taking their job as seriously as they should have, and you kind of have to clean up the damage that they've done and then get the patient back on the road to, you know, returning to baseline and being healthy and stuff like that. So it was just a lot of that, and it was frustrating and it was tiring because it created a lot more work than I had to do. And I hate to see my people done like that by somebody else's just negligence and incompetence. And it just frustrates me because we already don't have a good as black people going into the hospital, black women, we already don't have like the best prognosis and the best outlook going into the hospital. So I hate to see um, stuff like that happens, just negligence and just incompetence, and it's just frustrating. But I'm doing well. I'm hungry, but I'm doing well.
Listen, starving, hungry is an understatement for me.
I need to stop eating. That's the problem for me.
Why would you do that?
Yeah. Well, let's.
So,
Everybody's making it somehow.
absolutely. So let's get into our happy hour segment of the show. Um, I'm not sure that we're drinking alcoholic beverages at this time, uh, but I'm for
I took
sure
a
No.
shot of
drinking
Crown
my
to get
sparkling
here.
water. You
What'd you say,
drinking
Mills?
Crown?
I said I took a shot of Crown just to be able to get here. So
I know that's right.
I'm probably gonna have some wine later on to just go and put me to sleep because I do have to work tonight. So,
Well, I'm going out later, so I'll drink then. But right now I'm drinking sparkling water.
ooh, everybody else gotta go to work and he's going out.
oh, I
I
already
got
Boo.
know.
I got to go shake a tail feather. This is my last few days of freedom. Yeah. But with all of that, like, what the hell is going on? I know y'all heard about the aliens.
Look, at this point, if the aliens are here, let them be. If they've been here for a long time then and they ain't bother us by now. I'm pretty sure don't nobody really want to fool with humans anyway because we're ghetto. So
Well,
them people what you say?
it's super ironic because Milton and I were at one of our friends' house the other day, and the conversation of aliens came up, and we had this long drawn out conversation about aliens and the people that we thought were aliens and stuff like that, and and never even putting two and two together that this would be, or I guess you couldn't have put it together, but this whole alien thing kind of blew up like literally a couple of hours after us having that conversation.
Look, I said it over there when we were having the discussion. I'm still ready for him to come get me. Because I
Yeah.
don't deserve you hoes. I don't deserve
I
this world. This world doesn't deserve me, however you want to spend it. I should not be here.
know that's right.
So I'm ready for him to come get me. I'm not going to put up a fight or a struggle. I am often seen or can be found by myself in the middle of the night just wandering around because I'm waiting on them to come get me. And they won't
Hmm.
come. And I'm
But you
starting to
know
get
it's so
offended.
but you know it's so crazy as humans we have been like brought up and like privileged to think that we are the superior like how do I say this like well not humans I well
Like the
does it
superior being.
yeah and like nothing else exists after us like that's powerful them aliens probably been looking at us like this don't make no sense. Look at this. Like I'm pretty sure like Earth is like a comedy movie to them back there, wherever they're at. But I just feel like, if they've been here, oh if if it is true, I haven't, I don't care if it is, if it ain't. They ain't bother me in my
Yeah.
my years of life. So don't go over there messing with them people.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Because you go over there and mess with them nice people, it's gonna be just like on Friday. You get knocked out.
I know that's right.
So I'm
I'm
just not afraid of them.
A lot of people are afraid of the aliens, but I don't think I'm afraid. I, number one, I think that they've been around for a long time. I think the aliens are the people who created Wi-Fi and keeping Wi-Fi and Bluetooth going. Um, those that's my personal opinion. I mean, ultimately, I feel like the aliens have been around, wandering among us for quite some time now. They're teachers, they're doctors, they're lawyers. Um, and if you slap them too hard, that rubber mask gonna come off, and we're gonna see that they're aliens. So
But
that's just
most
how
of
I feel.
all, they've been minding their own business. They need
I'm
to.
still upset. I'm upset that I'm still here after all this time.
I always felt like I would kind of get picked up by one. Like I always felt like that, especially living in the country and you go outside at night and stuff like that. I always felt like one was just gonna
Hmm.
scoop me up.
Like me, it's just gonna be like
Hmm.
a little crop circle out there in my front yard, and I'm gonna be gone.
Yeah, be
Baby,
gone.
I don't care what it is. If the lights are free and the rent is cheap, they can take me wherever.
Oh my god!
Because this down here,
Just
getting a little
gotta.
high. Getting a little high.
Now I want to ask Denzel this because I know you keep up with this kind of stuff. What's going on with Cardi B? I saw something briefly on Twitter with her on stage and having an altercation.
I
Uh,
loved it. I got my life from Cardi.
I think
I
the girl,
loved
I
it.
think Cardi just wanted the girl to do, sing a verse of one of her songs. And she tossed the mic down and she didn't get it. But nah, for real though, like she threw. I don't know what the heck that girl was thinking, but I don't know if somebody pushed her or what. But it looked intentional when she threw that water up there.
Oh no,
And
Yeah.
it was very
about
intentional. I don't know why these people have this mentality that they can just kind of do stuff like that, and these celebrities and artists are not going to respond in a human fashion
Hmm.
because she
right.
intentionally threw that water on Cardi while she was performing, and Cardi threw that mic at her and bopped it. I loved it. I
I think by
loved
the
it.
time she brought that cup back to the wayside, that mic was already on the way.
Okay.
And then, like, I think I seen a report that a girl that was standing beside the lady that threw the water or whatever, she got the most of the microphone. I mistake. But girl, when you see somebody doing something like that shit, you know the move.
Yeah.
Because things go both ways. But I mean, hopefully she don't try to like sue Cardi or nothing like that. But I don't know, like a lot of these artists now they do experience these things on stages. Cause I remember like one artist got hit in the eye with something, and like they went to the went down on stage because some audience member threw something up there. I just feel
Is
like
this
they're
just
just
like a is this like a new thing, or is it just like we're just starting to see it because everybody's recording everything all the time? Like I
I
don't
think it's
remember
something
just
new.
yeah, people just throwing stuff on stage while people were performing and stuff like that. Like when did that come about?
I don't think it's new actually. I think that like you said, people are starting to record it now. We're starting to see it a little bit more, but I think that I mean as far back as the Temptations, I can remember people throwing stuff on the stage, but I'm not sure if it was done in those cases as a means of like disapproval. I think that you would see people like throwing
Yeah,
stuff on stage,
that's
oh, throwing their panties on stage or something, right?
yeah, I know. Like I know they used to throw like underwear and
Yeah, like the
yeah,
artists know, like they threw something because they love them, but
Yeah,
not to
yeah, used to
intentionally
throw like
cause harm.
yeah, used to
right.
throw like underwear and flowers and mug, stuff like that, stuff that shows gratitude and appreciation. But these people are out here throwing phones, shoes, you know, cups of water, like, and it's meant to like be offensive. So that's
Hmm.
weird to me. Like, why would you pay to go if that's what you wanted to do?
And if I was Cardi, I would fire some of the security because some they didn't know nothing was going on till the mic came flying past their head. Like, how do you not see this girl throw this water on her? Like you,
Well, I was able to go a little back a few seconds in the video before the water was thrown, and apparently people had already been throwing water, and she was enjoying it. And y'all know I'm cool with Cardi B. I don't just love Cardi B, but she cool. And my thing is, did you just get upset because you thought it was over and people were still throwing water, or what? So I'm kind of confused at this point.
I don't know, but to me, if I'm spending money to go to a concert like that, I don't think I would do anything that could be, seen as something other than the intentions. Like that's just like going to a Beyonce, the Renaissance tour, and I'm right there stage wise, and I grab her feet. Yeah, she has the every right to beat the shit out of me. I
Oh
might be
yeah,
trying to just touch her
Gonna
feet, but
stomp on your hand.
she
I
gonna
don't
put
think
that
she
heel
would.
right in
But I
your
think
eyeball.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure Blue Ivy would come out there and win me to death. But and just I just don't see myself going there and risking that opportunity of seeing an artist that I paid to go see with some foolishness like that. Even if everybody else was throwing water, I'm not gonna throw it because you never
Okay.
know. Security might come in and A Town stomp your ass down.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
But
I'm
they
paying to go
do it on
to a
certain
show,
artists that they know this.
if I'm paying to go to a show, the only thing I'm gonna do is sit there and enjoy the show.
Right.
Like that's all I'm gonna do.
Man.
Okay.
I don't know. These younger audience members are something else.
Yeah.
Something else. Now, speaking of artists and music, is there anybody y'all particularly listening to like new?
Um, I don't know. I feel like I just listen to the same stuff over and over again because it's so hard for me to find like really, really good music, really music that I resonate with. So I still listen to a lot of the same people like Cleo Soul and Alex Isley and the internet and like kind of like an alternative. I mean, to me, it's R&B, but like I don't know, it's classified some kind of weird way, like alternative R&B or whatever. I don't know, lo-fi music. I don't know. But I like kind of that vibe, so I'm always just kind of recycling a lot of their music and
Yeah.
appreciating it.
I agree. I'm kind of sticking to my guns right now with the music that I normally listen to. Um, of course, a big Brandy fan, a big ALIC fan, Alec Walls. Um, I do delight in a little Bootsy sometimes. Every now and again, that really gets me going. Uh, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Of course, always into my spiritual music and my gospel music. So my music comes as a huge part of my day. So I'm listening to music all day long in some capacity. So yeah.
I still been listening to this group called Ain't Afraid. They're like I think they're twin sisters,
Hmm.
and their music is really good. And all the other stuff that I've been listening to is like songs I ran across like off of TikTok from those R&B counts and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
other than that, it's really like music is really at a standstill because nobody's really producing like award winning music anymore.
I wonder
Hmm.
what. Now that you said something about that girl group, it made me made me remember the Womack singers, the Womack sisters. Have y'all heard of them or remember them? Bobby
The
Womack's like
yeah.
granddaughters or something, I think. Or
Mm-hmm.
Sam, the granddaughters of Sam Cooke, not Bobby Womack. I'm sorry. Uh, the nieces of Bobby Womack. Okay, but I like them. Like I really enjoyed their music.
Mm.
I
They
remember
had really
listening
really
to
good
one of their
music.
songs. I remember listening to one. I ran across their name somehow. I think it was Pandora or something like that. And I remember I was in Memphis for some reason. I don't know if I was just traveling through Memphis, and I remember listening to their music.
You know why you were there.
Mm, you know why you was up there.
Well, if it was, I can't remember now.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. Anywho,
And the
um,
Shindellas. Do y'all have y'all heard of the Shindellas?
Shandellas, how you spell that?
Shindellas.
I never heard of that.
I like
Three
them too.
girls.
Hmm.
What's their story?
I don't be trying to go that deep with them. I just like if they, if I just like the music or not.
I'll save them for later. Do a little dig when I'm half sleeping drunk.
Okay.
Everything sounds better then.
Well, I think that wraps up our happy hour portion of the show. Does
Wrap it up,
anybody else
wrap it
have
up.
anything?
Woo!
I know, right?
No, that's it. That's it.
Absolutely. Well, um, is everybody feeling okay? Everybody good?
Yeah, I'm good. What about you?
Mm-hmm.
Haima.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Good.
here.
I know that's right. I'm still starving. Um, but as we transition into our in great detail portion of the show, something that I kind of wanted to talk about today, and you guys will, of course, give me your um, detailed expertise or experience in this topic. But I wanted to talk about um, code switching. Um, as millennials, I think that most of us, especially those of us who grew up in the South, can relate to what code switching is or how code switching can be used to manipulate certain situations, but also be successful in white dominated areas or fields um, of whatever sort that may be. So, for those people who don't know what code switching is, um, for lack of better words, a tactic or a way that you maneuver through certain situations that has been passed down through generations of black people. And it's basically like a set of rules that dictate how to maneuver through specific situations, like how to address people, what tone of voice to use, or just kind of being aware of where you are and um, the makeup of the room, and how your tone of voice can be either a plus or a negative to the situation that you may be in. Like you could be labeled aggressive or problematic or things like that. So code switching has been used for generations to help us to be in the right place at the right time, even if we're really not. Um, so how would you guys say that you have had to use code switching in your current workplace or even in previous workplaces?
Well, I'll start. When I moved out here to Dallas, the first time, I kind of felt like I had to code switch to be seen as equal as the other candidates for the job position and stuff like that. Because coming from Mississippi, we have our own talk, our own we talk away in Mississippi.
Hmm.
And when you come out here, you got all these people from different places because Dallas is really full of people from other places than people that are normally born and raised in Dallas. So you got all these people coming from different places with proper speaking and all that stuff. And you don't want to come in seem as the ghetto country bunk and like Nene said, Candy sounded like. But I felt like I needed to do that when I first moved here, especially when I was working in corporate. I had to change it up a little bit, and it helped me, I can say, but it wasn't. It didn't feel like it was me. It helped me, but then again, it didn't help me. It helped me to get further along in the career, but it didn't help me personally because it wore me out trying to switch back and forth, just to be seen as someone of the standard to fulfill these jobs. And when I went to my job, when I ended up moving to Alabama and coming back to the job I'm at now, I don't give a damn. Like I cuss my group leader, all them out. Like if they piss me off, I don't do it. But I seen that now. I see now that I kind of got comfortable in just being that way and not switching over now. And it's kind of hard now when I'm looking for other opportunities, and I feel like I need to get readjusted to do that again. It's kind of hard doing it, but code switching for me is I just see the positives of it, and I've seen the negative side of it as well.
Hmm.
What about you, Milton?
I feel like we've all had some experiences with code switching just from the society that we were raised in. But I know for me personally, as I've gotten older and matured and gotten to know myself better and gotten to know the world better, I see code switching as such like um, this draining skill that we all unfortunately have developed that weighs you down, and it kind of always requires a lot more of you because you have to have the energy to code switch, and then you have to have the energy to actually do what it is you're supposed to be doing in whatever space that you're taking up. Um, and I'll touch on something that you said, Denzel, about people talking proper and you not want to be seen as the country bumpkin and all this other stuff. And I just feel like when you start to break down all of these ideologies and these constructs that society puts in place about what is acceptable and what is not acceptable and all of that stuff, I feel like you start to view code switching as, worthless and futile because it doesn't necessarily mean anything, and um, it doesn't to me. I find, and I feel like it has its place or whatever, but I feel like the way that we have been taught to code switch, especially coming from Mississippi, is more so about making ourselves more acceptable and more digestible to the people that are around us. When I'm not necessarily, especially at this point in my life, especially in the area and in the atmosphere that I work in, is heavily dominated with white people and white women. I'm not necessarily trying to make myself acceptable to you because you don't necessarily have to accept me, or you don't necessarily need to be able to digest me in a way that makes you feel comfortable. What you need to know is that I am more than competent enough to be in this space and to do this job, and we could leave it at that. Like, there's no need for me to code switch. There's no need for me to conform myself into this shape that you're okay with accepting. Like, I'm not doing any of that. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with code switching. Like, I'm just not in that space of, talking a certain way, acting a certain way, and, conducting myself a certain way to get other people to see me as acceptable or digestible or not aggressive, or whatever it is. If I feel strongly about something and you want to label it as aggressive, then that's fine. I mean, we all know, especially us walking around with the skin color that we're in, and in the South, we all know that it's not aggression. We know it's simply because you have expressed that you feel strongly about something and you're not going to back down, and it's because you're black. Like, that's really all it is. It's not the fact that you're aggressive or you're threatening or anything like that. It's the fact that you're not allowing those people or whoever to influence you in such a way to where you just accept what it is that they say and you walk on. And when you buck up against that, that's when they place aggression on it, because that usually gets them the results that they want. If they label you as aggression or as aggressive, um, then as far as HR, police, managers, authoritative figures or whatever, it usually gives them the results that they want when they throw that
Hmm.
aggression thing on there. So yeah, I'm not for the code switching thing anymore. Has it, served a purpose, and has it been beneficial? Yeah. But when I think about how it made me feel, even with the benefits that come with it, when I think about how it made me feel and how I didn't show up to that particular situation as myself, as Milton, and whoever this watered down version of myself is that showed up to take what Milton had rightfully earned. It makes me feel some type of way. So I'm not with the code switching thing.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And I think that it kind of goes back to what we were saying on the last episode of how so many things that we've done have been to uh, just survive, and I think that ultimately um, code switching was created for students or people to be able to deal with the racial tensions that were happening in so many areas of America. And um, it was taught to keep down issues, to keep down violence and fighting, and make us or help us to be able to fit in spaces
Hmm.
where we weren't wanted, especially schools and different jobs and things like that. And I think that for myself, I learned code switching at a very young age because my father it was in middle school, I believe, when integration happened. And he talked about how they went from being in all black schools to mixing with, the white students. And crazily enough, I went to the same high school that my father went to. And some of the people that he graduated from high school with ended up being my teachers. And so they were able to kind of like talk about what that experience was like for them. And of course, if they knew my dad, they had to be cool because he was a little bit of rambunctious as a little black boy or whatever. But um, I think that now, having worked in diverse areas of the workforce, um, when I worked in corporate America, it was like I had to turn it on when I woke up in the morning. Like, okay, you got to get ready. You got to go up in here with these white folks, and make it do what it do. And I will be honest, I became so good at it, and you guys know that I climbed the ranks when I was in corporate America really fast. And it was because I knew how to be in the room with certain white people who didn't necessarily want me there. And a lot of times I was the youngest of the people sitting at the boardroom table and things like that. And so the biggest thing was just knowing how to say what they wanted to hear, but also knowing that no matter what I say, when I go back to my desk, I'm gonna do what I want to do, or I'm gonna do what's best for the people or whatever. So it was just kind of one of those things where you had to play the role, and like Milton said, it does get exhausting. It's one of the reasons why I left corporate America because it was just a lot trying to pretend all day long. And you're pretending for people who are undereducated, who have all this
Hmm.
privilege, and they think they know what they're doing, but they really don't. They're really driving the business into the ground. Um,
Yeah.
they're creating a combination or a group of people that hated jobs, that hated to work because people were treating them so bad and didn't care about the people or didn't care about the root of employees. And so, and of course, these employees were people who did not know how to code switch. They only knew how to be themselves. And so I think that seeing that kind of taught me the ins and outs, and how to kind of be an advocate for people as well. And I think that code switching kind of puts you in a good space because you're able to not only maneuver through certain situations, but you also are put in places that we as black people normally don't get the opportunity to be placed in. You know.
Yeah, that was like at my last job. I did an interview to be promoted and all that stuff, but I was so burnt out on the code switching of it
Hmm.
and just trying to get to the point where I could go in and get a chance to say, hey, I want to be promoted and do all those things. And it got to the point where when I did that interview and the amount of code switching I had to do in that interview, I asked
Hmm.
myself after that interview, like, are you really gonna you know that once you get this position, you're gonna have to amp up
Mm-hmm.
this a little bit more. And I literally end up putting in my 2 weeks notice then. Like I put in my 2 weeks notice, like literally coming out that interview, and I was done because like I felt like I showed them like everybody knew I could do the job and more,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just that to the people that were in charge or in positions where they make those decisions on who does what, when, and where, I
Mm-hmm.
had to make them feel comfortable, and I was just like, that didn't feel right to me because I feel like it was going to be 10 times worse if I got the higher I got. So
Yeah.
I just end up letting that go.
Yeah. And I
Because
mean, a similar. Go
it
ahead, Miss.
almost gets to the place where it's not about how smart or how competent you are or how well you can actually do this job. You're kind of being graded on how comfortable you can make those around you or those above or
Mm-hmm.
those in higher positions above you. And I'm not, I'm not there for that. Like I'm not there to, make you comfortable and to, coddle you in that sort of way. And I've lost opportunities because of it, and I'm fine with that. Like I don't necessarily lose any sleep over those opportunities that weren't bestowed on me, even though I probably earned a lot of them and they were rightfully mine. But I'm not showing up to this opportunity as anybody other than myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just to piggyback off of that, you guys know when I took that job in Houston, I was so excited about the type of money I was going to be making because it was like a $20,000 jump from where I had been in corporate America and moved to Houston. I don't even think I lasted a week down there, and it wasn't necessarily the job, but I remember making these negotiations as far as having an office and what days I was going to work and all this different type of stuff. And then when I got there, I saw the mess that needed to be cleaned up. But I also noticed that they started like changing a lot of the things that I had signed on for. Like uh they weren't gonna I wasn't gonna have an office. I had to do something to like earn being able to put in the office, and then they wanted me to work weekends and Sundays and all these like catastrophe hours and stuff like that. And I was like, now wait a minute. I didn't move down here from a situation to come and still have to like bend and maneuver and change and pretend like everything was okay. And I think that's really what it was all about. I didn't want to pretend anymore that things were just okay. I wanted to be in a place, especially when you get to a certain level of management, you know, it's like I'm not gonna just sit here and just hurt or sit here and run my blood pressure up to make these people happy. And so long story short, a lot of spiritual stuff went into it, but I ended up leaving that job and I felt okay with it because I was like, I'm not going to keep burning myself, trying to please people and be this good boy and, smile and grin in these people's face. And so I'm really, really glad that I kind of stepped away from that. And I mean, even in education, there's still some code switching that has to be done. But it's not to the extent of what I experienced in corporate America for sure.
And I do think that there are tools and strategies that you can implement to place yourself further ahead in the race. But I
Mm-hmm.
just think it's a matter of intention, um, because I feel like code switching comes from um, we've already kind of discussed where it comes from. It comes from a place of making yourself small and kind of having to adjust to the situation that you're put in instead of just standing tall and allowing those around you to adjust to you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I definitely feel like there are tools and strategies you can implement that can place you, further ahead in whatever particular race that you're on. And like, not telling everybody all of your business, or not telling everybody all of your intentions. Like your second week on the job, you don't need to be telling people you want to be district manager. Like,
Hmm.
like some, stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
it's
they
not
peeping our
necessarily,
competition then.
yeah,
Yeah,
not
they definitely peep
necessarily
out the
code.
competition.
Yeah, it's not necessarily code switching, but it is, stuff that you do to kind of place yourself ahead and to grant yourself opportunities. Because, if your whoever your superior is at your particular job is not interested or not concerned with the fact that you want their job, they'll give you all sorts of opportunities if they're not thinking that you're a threat to their job. All the while, you could have gone into this particular corporation with the intentions on taking their job, but if you don't make that known to them, then they're not going to view you as a threat. They're going to be more open and forthcoming with you about information, about opportunities, about stuff that's going on in the company. So I feel like there's
Hmm.
stuff like that we can do, but like the code switching thing, I feel like it's only going to get you so far, and
Yes,
it's
yeah.
such a it's such a blow to your psyche. It's such a blow to
Hmm.
your personal development to always have to switch over to try to be somebody else just to make somebody else feel good.
You definitely have to know when enough is enough.
Yeah.
And I remember my
Really,
parents.
so when you really look at it, code switching doesn't do you any justice.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And I think that there's an initial. You come in the door and you may speak, real proper or whatever. But it's like, okay, nigga, I did what I had to do to get this interview and get this job. But once I hit this floor, I'm gonna be me, because being me is what got me to the place where I am now, knowing how to talk to people, knowing how to love on people, knowing how to boost people up, or make people have a better day when they're at work. Those kind of things were what made me successful in corporate America. It wasn't code switching. And so for me, like, my parents would always say, when you start a job, don't never go in there letting them know how smart you are. Don't ever go in there telling them that you already know. So when I went to the second company that Denzel and I worked together, um, I already knew that stuff like the back of my hand. But when I went in there, I sat through the training, looking dumb, looking stupid, and they was trying to teach me this stuff, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it." Bitch, I already know this stuff. So when I when I actually got on the floor and I started working, there was this lady that was training me, and Denzel know who I'm talking about. She was training me, and she whispered to this lady. She was like, "He gonna fuck up all this stuff." She was like, "He moving too fast. He don't know what he doing." I'm like, "Okay, lady." So when I left work and came back the next day, she was like, "We checked behind your work. It was all pristine." And I played that role like I didn't know what was going on for months, just so I could work my way up through the ranks and kind of like be unscathed, because I didn't want people watching me. I didn't want people to say, "Oh, he think he know everything," or "He's already really, really good at it." I just played that role.
That's how it was when I came in. It was like a month before they knew me and you even knew each other.
Yeah,
We were
before,
sitting right
and we
across
were
the table
sitting,
from
we
each
were
other.
sitting right by each other. Now, keep in mind, me and Denzel had been friends for 3 or 4 years at that time. We sat in that room, and them people never knew that we knew each other. Never knew. And one lady was like, she was like, I was trying to figure out. She was like, because the way that y'all talk to each other wasn't like people who just met each other. She was like, but y'all didn't like hang out. And I was like, oh no, we weren't doing none of that.
That
Yeah.
was so funny.
It was very
That's,
funny, but
Every
we did what we had to do.
right, this stuff that we're talking about now reminds me of this book that I read called "The 48 Laws of Power" by um, somebody. I think his name is Robert Greene. But anyway, it's the
Hmm.
48 Laws of Power, and he kind of illustrates through a lot of different stories and stuff like that. Basically, the same stuff that we're talking about now. Like when you go into these situations, you can, some people may say play it dumb, or some people may say, you don't show everybody your whole hand. You don't show everybody every
Hmm.
card you got.
That's
You
right.
know, you go in there and you kind of gauge the situation or whatever. And there's a story in there or a parable um, in there where he says that basically this guy, kind of knew everything that was going on. He knew the situation. He knew how everything worked. Like he was already familiar with the situation that he was walking into, but he didn't let anybody know. And so when he got there and he was already familiar and sort of advanced, he created this buzz about himself.
Mm-hmm.
He created, good chatter. Like you can create good chatter. He created his own publicity at his, job.
Mm-hmm.
And, that granted him more opportunities and it afforded him to be able to climb the ranks or whatever, just because he kept his mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
I
Keep your
mean, and
mouth shut.
he didn't necessarily, uh, know anything that no one else knew. But because he wasn't, coming through the door like, oh, I already know how to do this, or I'm already familiar with it, I already know how to do, it created a buzz that ended up working for him, and it's a lot of stuff like that. It's a lot of um, different laws kind of within that book um,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of go along with this conversation. I wish I'd have thought about it. I would have mentioned it, and y'all could have kind of skimmed through it. But it's
Mm-hmm.
a really really good book if y'all want to read it, and for anybody who's listening that hasn't read it, 48 Laws of Power by Rob. I'm pretty sure that man's name is Robert Greene. But it really goes along with this conversation that we're having,
Mm-hmm.
and he's really just offering a different perspective. Um, Now that I think back on it, and now we're having this conversation about code switching and how you can change the intention behind code switching to not necessarily uh, watering yourself down or dimming your light to be able to fit into situations, but using those tools that were taught to us, especially to our people, using those things that were taught to us that were meant to keep us in a certain place, and then kind of
Mm-hmm.
tweaking them a little way, and then letting those things propel us forward. So
Absolutely.
it's a really really good book.
You definitely have to, and I'm glad you brought that up because I'm definitely going to find that book and read it. Because when I think about doing what I did to at that specific job to kind of get to where I was, I remember going into a meeting and the VP of the company was in the room and she said, "Now what's your name?" And I told her my name and she said, "Yeah, you're the brains behind the operation." She's like, "I heard a lot about you." And so even though I was trying to kind of play the role and stay out the way, I didn't really want no recognition for nothing. People still knew who I was. And sometimes I wish Denzel had stayed around for a little while because he could have helped me. He could have helped me dominate that motherfucker. But I did grow from literally the bottom position with that company to one of the highest positions in that department. So um, I'm definitely gonna check that book out to kind of see what that's all about. I
Yeah.
like that.
I definitely would
All
need
I
to check it out
remember,
as well.
all I remember is one morning I was on the phone with Denzel and he walked up in that building and threw that computer across that desk. And whoever that was, he didn't even take it back up to, like, the people, the IT department or whatever. He might have thrown it down there to the mail person, to the security down there. Can you turn this in for me? And turned around and walked out. I said, "Oh my God, this
That
dude
was
is
the
a
funniest
beast."
shit I had ever seen in my life because we had been out for COVID and the people treated us so bad during COVID, but we worked from home. And so Denzel walked in and the lady was like, "Good morning." He was like, "Good morning." He sat down. He actually set his computer up, set it all up, all pretty and all nice. He sat down. He spun around in his chair. Then he stood up. He walked up to the lady. He said, "Excuse me." He handed her a badge. "This is gonna be my last day," and walked out.
Turn that in for
But he walked in with the computer in a box, and he just threw the box on the table. And he sat there for a minute. He's like, "Okay, I'm gonna set it up." And we laughed for maybe like a week behind that shit because Denzel left and never came back.
Mm-mm.
ain't no point of sugarcoating it, baby. Because if y'all want to get rid of me, y'all gonna get rid of me right then and there. So, baby, here you go,
Next
and
thing
I'm
we
on
know, he
my
done moved
way.
across the country.
Hmm.
Baby, when I tell you, when I leave, I leave.
That
But
was
nah,
that was at 8 o'clock. By 12 o'clock, he was in a whole other state.
sure, child. I
Hmm.
sure remember that. I had went home and got my stuff and it was gone. I think
So
the
let
car
me.
was packed when I was there.
Yeah, it
It
might have
was.
been.
You had already packed it up that night because I remember us being on the phone. But let me ask y'all this: like, how do you navigate code switching and showing up as your full self in these spaces? Like David, you and education, working with other teachers and administration and the district and all the people that work in the district of your school, and Denzel with you in the automotive industry and working with engineers and all sorts of people. Like, how do you navigate those spaces and still you know show up as yourself, as someone who is capable and competent and has earned the right to be there and to be in those rooms and to be a part of the conversation? Like, how do you get yourself to that point where you're not always feeling like you have to code switch, but you can show up as, you know, David Sales Jr., and you can
Hmm.
show up as Denzel Hayes, from David from Richland, Mississippi, and Denzel from Yazoo City, Mississippi, and not feel like you have to put this air on about yourself
Hmm.
and know that you yourself are enough and are deserving of being in this moment and being a part of the moment and not just being like a bystander just in the room listening, but actually being a part of the conversation, offering input, having your ideas heard and validated, and like, how do you navigate that space?
I think for myself in education, because of the experiences that I had already had in previous jobs or previous environments, that I learned to let my work speak for itself. And even though there is a little bit of code switching that I do, it's not code switching that would sacrifice who I really am. Because I feel like my personality and who I am is what I need to sell to people. That has what has set me apart. Um, and I think that in my current job, everybody knows I'm crazy. They know I'm crazy, but they know I'm going to do my job. They know that I care. I care about the other teachers as well as I care about the students. And so I think that it just boils down to, can you be a good person? Can you get your point across to the right people? Can you do what needs to be done and know how to present yourself in front of people that allows them to see you and not see somebody that's problematic or see somebody that could cause issues? And I think this is just all about presentation. And I don't think that you should dim your light or be somebody different. But I think that code switching, again, has gotten us to certain places, and you have to be cognizant of, will this be something that I'm creating that I now have to keep up, or will this create something that I have to try to go back and explain later on? Because you don't want to get into a job and you're like, oh, this is not the same person that we hire. You still want to make sure that your work ethic and the person that you are matches up with who you're presenting to the world.
Yeah. With me in the automotive industry, I would have to code switch. Like, we're working with engineers and stuff like that. Like, when during the introduction phase, like, we have the issue and you have to deal with them. Probably the first time you have to code switch to kind of make yourself a little more, then fluff yourself up a little bit, but also have solutions and be able to show those solutions to them. And after the first go around, and they see, hey, oh, you got you know what you're doing. You can kind of like cut the code switching out. They know what you're doing. They're not going to second guess. They don't care how you present it or whatnot. They just want to make sure that they have an answer or a solution to whatever we're doing. And I think I had that issue with like going to corporate America when some of the jobs that me and David worked at versus being in the automotive industry, you have to show solutions. And with the corporate, it was all about presentation, whether you have a solution or not. As long as you can present it and make it look like it's something, they'll eat it all up. And that was a challenge that I had, really, to be, in that area with corporate and learning new stuff. And like when I did the interview with the job or whatnot in corporate America, I would fluff myself up, code switch or whatnot. But once I got on the phone with the customer, I would be just as country as ever, and they would be asking me like, "Where are you from? You sound like you somewhere down south." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm from wherever I'm from, or whatnot." But with
Don't worry
automotive, it was
about it.
so much. I know, but it was so funny. One woman from New York, she was like, "You sound so country. Where you from?" I was like
Hmm.
Mississippi or whatnot, but that even though sometimes it would be offensive when people ask me that though. But when I was on the phone with those people, they loved it. They ate it all up. As long as I did what got them what they need and they felt comfortable with me, they ate it all up. But the customers were so much different than dealing with management. Management wanted to be you got to present yourself away when you're dealing with stuff like that.
Yeah, I get that. That's something that I always kind of um, am observant of because I now because when I first got into nursing, I was a little nervous because you are playing with people's lives, honestly. So and you're walking a lot of times you're walking into an atmosphere and a group of people in a work group that has already been established. So you kind of trying to figure out where you're going to fit. And then, like, shortly after, maybe like a week or two, I was like, I don't necessarily have to fit anywhere. Like, I can just be here and be in this space and, just be present in the fact that I know that I belong here. I know that I've earned the right to be here. And I know that I can occupy this space safely and in the way that it was intended for me to. So, um, sometimes you have people because I can see it on their faces. A lot of older people who are, or just a lot of just people. I'm not even gonna say it's like a generational thing, but just people who just don't feel that someone like me or someone who looks like me should be in a place like I am and holding the conversations and doing the things that I'm doing and it's such a weird train of thought to me, not one that necessarily offends me or anything, but it's just like, how did you get there? Like what in your mind feels like, you're the only person in the world that can do this.
Yeah.
It's
And
just
speaking
it's
of
just
that,
weird.
or what you were saying, there was a post on Instagram. I think some had to be some white man. He reposted a video of a bunch of, I think, African nurses that were graduating, and he was like, "Are you really going to trust these people with your lives?" And the nursing community went bonkers on that. He was like, "Look, the test is it's the same across the
Absolutely.
board." Like
Absolutely, I would trust them with my life.
yep. So
Them more so
I
than the
guess,
ones that graduate from here.
and that's what I think. I think like a lot of people only see they when they go to the medical like doctor and stuff. They trust the white face because that's always been the face of medicine mostly. You know, and they feel uncomfortable when they don't see that.
Let me tell you something. When I was in school, and I think I kind of mentioned this last season, and just seeing the privilege, like, because I don't think I've ever just seen white privilege and the privilege that is granted to white people. And in this particular situation, white women, because this is a track that was made for white women. Nursing is. I just had never seen just obvious, audacious, blinded eyes being turned to, the incompetence of what those white women were showing in those nursing classes and in the hospital when I was
Hmm.
coming to school. And I told my family, I was like, look, y'all need to get out and start walking, drink your water, cut back on your pork, do whatever you need to do because y'all can't go in the hospital, y'all gonna be dead.
Dead.
If y'all think these white women that I'm in school with is gonna be the ones to take care of y'all are going to be dead. Like y'all have
Hmm.
got to start taking care of yourself because it is not a an atmosphere of healing. when you go into these hospitals now. It's just not. People are incompetent. People don't know what they're doing, but they walk into these spaces, like I said, because these spaces have been created for them. And they are
Hmm.
welcomed into these spaces simply because of their gender and because of their race. And they don't have to show up the same way that we have to show up, and they don't have to necessarily, um, produce the results or uh, just operate on the same level as us. And I'm pretty sure it's the same way in the automotive industry and the education field. Like, there are a lot of things that we see that, we could never get away with. Or,
Yeah.
Yep.
that just it's just I guess that's just the society that we live in. But yeah, it was mind boggling. It was awestruck striking to me to see that, and just to see how they get to be. And I don't mean to make this like a race thing, but this is just my experience. But just to see
Privilege is privilege, baby.
how mediocre they
That's
get
the
to
word I was
be.
going to use.
They get
Mediocre.
to be so mediocre and show up with this bravado about them as if they laid the foundation for what this is for, and I was like, you are barely, you know, you're operating just above the level of getting your damn license revoked.
Hmm.
Like, you are a caution, you are a hazard to people. Like, you shouldn't even be here, but because you're white and because, it's a club, I guess. I don't know. I just, you just kind of see all of the behind the scenes stuff once you're actually behind the scenes and you see how things are operating, and it's it just opens your eyes to so much, which is why I'm not gonna code switch for y'all. No, I'm not. I'm showing up just the way I'm showing up, because if Cody can come up here and be mediocre and half-ass do whatever he needs to do, then you know I'm not going to show up and be mediocre, but clearly you should, grant me the privilege of making a mistake and being human. Like, I don't have to operate in this on this level of perfection that I feel like we strive for. I can make a mistake. I can be human. I'm not perfect. I'm not a machine. So if he gets to get away with it, I get to get away with it as much as I can, if that makes sense. Because I'm not blind to the fact that I'm not going to be able to get away with what he gets away with because I'm not him. But, if I make a mistake or something, I don't need you jumping all over my back when you just let, you know, Cody do whatever and whatever, whatever for weeks and weeks and months at a time. So, yeah, I'm not code switching for that.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
With
that pretty much wraps up this episode.
it
Um,
does.
did anybody else have any final words? Any final
Um,
points?
no. When will our the episode of Don't Be Cora, is that out already?
I think it's out
With
today. I
us.
saw a post. I saw a post today saying that it was out, so you can check that out at DBK underscore podcast on Instagram, where the link
Absolutely.
to um, the video and the audio for the Don't Be Coy episode that we were all on this past week. And be sure to check out our Instagram and TikTok at As Told by Millennials, and click on the link in the bio to get access to everything, our personal pages, our website, um, everything as far as Told by Millennials. And be on the lookout, because we're getting ready to come up with something new that I'm working on that I haven't even told David and Denzel about. But be on the
What?
lookout. Just keep your eyes toward As Told by Millennials, because we're growing and we're going to continue to grow. And
Hmm.
we're this is just the beginning for us.
Dealing with us, keep your eyes peeled.
Okay, keep
Also,
your eyes peeled.
also, guys, if you're in the market of looking for a liquid uh, IVs, Hey, go to their website, use the promo code as told by millennials, get you a little discount off. They have like different types of flavors, and you can just add it to your little water bottle. And it's a really good product, and I use it daily because I work in heat, and it's not much that can get me hydrated, but Liquid IV does the job.
They're also
Yeah.
very, very good after a long night of drinking.
Yeah. Very true. Very
Very,
true.
very good. I mean, if we're going to talk about the uses, let's talk about all of them. They're very,
Yeah.
very good to hydrate yourself after a long night of alcohol consumption.
Because many nights I have woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, turned up, hungover, and I pop one of those, and I can go right on back to sleep.
I'm about
You
to
pop
pop
you one of
one later on.
those, yeah, pop one of those in the BC, you'll be all right.
Hmm.
A little
You can
concoction.
conquer, yeah, you can conquer the world after that. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap up this episode, guys. Thanks for listening. We
We'll see you
appreciate you
next week.
guys, and we will see you next week. Deuces.
Peace.